Hello there, and welcome to the Thought That Counts podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about the American workplace. First, let's introduce ourselves. My name is John.
I'm Casey.
Casey and I are engaged. We're going to be getting married later this year, and we wanted to launch a podcast together, so that's what we're doing right now. Today, we are going to be talking about some problems that we are facing currently in the American workplace, some issues that employees have been dealing with in recent years, transformations that have been underway in the workplace, as well as how employers have been responding to such things. So let's get into it. What are some of the biggest problems that we're facing today in the American workplace? What do you think?
The salaries don't match the cost of living around here.
That's definitely true for where we live currently. I know a lot of other cities are probably facing the same situation. I think that it is an issue that has been going on for a couple of decades now, and it's been exacerbated recently. I don't know if the pandemic has hurt that more so than just a normal year time span would, but I think it's definitely been brought to everyone's attention. And there have been a few industries that have gone through some interesting transformations since the start of the pandemic. I know the education industry is one of them. I know the food service industry is another good example of an industry that has undergone some transformations. So you've got some experience in the education industry. What have you noticed since the pandemic started and, during the pandemic, and now I guess you could say we're entering a post-pandemic time period almost. What are your thoughts?
Well, the students are way worse than they've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to socially interact with each other because they've been on computers for the past 2 years. So
Wow.
When they come to school, they don't know how to act, and then they just hit each other and think it's funny. Or
Jesus.
Well, I've had some students just, when we're in line, just fart on each other. Like, they'll just fart and laugh. And I'm about to throw up in my mask because smells get to me. It's
Christ.
disgusting. I have one kid in particular that just loves to fart on people. He loves to crop dust them when he goes past their desk.
That sounds like hell.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So these children don't know how to behave at all anymore.
Nor do they care about their education.
Okay. I guess I can see that. If I were 10 years old and I just spent a year and a half playing Call of Duty whenever the hell I wanted, and then I was supposed to go back into a classroom and focus, there'd be no chance.
Well, now our school is making us take technology out. So first of all, it's harder for us because we want to use technology to use for their assignments, and it grades for us, so that helps the teachers out. But we're not allowed to use technology because they've been on it for 2 years, and we're trying to wean them off. So we have to print everything. But when your school doesn't have ink for the printer, or it gets jammed every time you want to use it, then that defeats the purpose. Luckily, I teach math, and we have math books. So I just teach out of the math book. But, if you wanted to print something, you're out of luck.
Wow. And I guess another thing about the education system is not only are you dealing with these children who don't know how to behave all day long, but you are working alongside other adults who are also working with these children all day long. So it's probably just a very dark environment, I imagine, where even the responsible, normal human adults in the area are just frustrated all the time because they're dealing with the same hellish children that you are.
Yeah, it's constant negativity. It's not like I haven't heard a single positive thing the entire school year. We only talk about the negative. We never talk about the positive, which I don't really know what a positive would be in this situation.
And I guess that's another good reason why a lot of teachers have been quitting this year, especially, I know from the start of the pandemic it was a little bit different, but then coming back to school in person, I think is what hit a lot of people, where it's just, okay, I can't do this anymore. And that's why I know we were talking about this a number of months ago. More teachers have left during this school year than at
Past few years.
yeah, in the past, any time in the recent history.
Yeah.
So,
They're taking early retirements and everything.
geez.
Some are quitting without the 30 days that whatever their contract requires. They're just leaving, packing up their stuff. And some teachers are leaving without having a job lined up. They just can't do it anymore, so they quit, and then they don't have any job right now.
Wow. Darn, that's heavy stuff. Well, yeah, so education is looking very different, and I guess it's going to have to keep changing to adapt to what these kids are capable of and, what they're used to, because technology keeps changing year after year, and these kids have different home lives than they used to. I mean, 30 years ago, teaching in a classroom setting was probably fine, but I think in recent decades it's become less and less normal for these kids who are, interacting with people online constantly to come into a classroom and be expected to sit down and focus for an hour-long class period. So I think technology is ever changing and it's ever growing, and you can't stop it, nor should you, but it is having in some ways, I guess, a negative impact on children's ability to go through the education system that we have in place.
Yeah, I mean, they can't even... I have a 5-minute timer at the beginning of my class, and they're supposed to be silent and doing their warm-up. It's only 4 problems. And I have not had a single class this whole school year not break the silence before the 5 minutes. So they can't even sit there for 5 minutes. Jesus.
Well, all right then. So that's the education system here in America for you. If you're living in a different country, that's what's going on here. That's what we're dealing with.
And a 2-year educational gap, a loss because of COVID.
Right.
Online stuff.
Okay, wow. Well, goodness gracious. So I guess another part of the American workplace that has changed a lot is food service. I know DoorDash has skyrocketed since the start of the pandemic because people aren't eating in restaurants anymore. They're doing curbside pickup. They're doing deliveries. Just serving in general has completely changed. And a lot of restaurants are having to actually pay normal hourly wages, or at least some type of a minimal hourly wage, to their servers because people won't accept these jobs that are based on mostly tips anymore. It's something that I think is sort of leading to a little bit of a workplace revolution here in America, and I think it's a good thing. I think tip-based jobs are the worst thing that you could have in place, and I don't think anyone wants that. Why should someone be working with the majority of their income coming from the courtesy of a customer that might be having a bad day, or maybe they just didn't like you personally and they just don't want to give you a good tip? Well, now you're mad at that customer when really we should all be mad as a society at the restaurant industry for developing this tip-based culture in the first place.
Well, I saw a video of a girl complaining about, she was in America. Some family came in, they could afford the bill, but they could not afford the tip. So I just, why even go out to eat if you can't afford a tip? And in her comment section, it was like, well, we deserve to go out to eat too, even if we can't tip you, at least we're paying for the meal. And another person commented, or a few people from Europe were commenting that, they don't work for tips. It's just income. They don't have the tips. They don't have to worry about tips because it's covered with their wage.
Right. So that's a huge difference. I don't know how many other countries use a tipping system to supplement employee wages, but I think America is probably one of the only ones that does that. Yeah, that's something that I think personally, that should change very soon. And I think companies and restaurants are being forced to adapt to a world in which no one wants that, because it's not going to be some government regulation that changes this. It's going to be the fact that no one's going to apply to your position if it doesn't have a base salary. So that's a big change that's happening. Another problem that we touched on this earlier a little bit is the cost of living crisis. It is costing more and more to live, especially in cities like the one we live in. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the rent payments, rent cost is going up every year. Consumer goods are increasing in price every year. And people might say, yeah, well, that's just normal inflation. But normal inflation is supposed to be coupled with increasing wages. That's how a healthy economy expands, and it goes through different cycles where it expands and it peaks and it contracts. And that's normal for a healthy economy. But what's not healthy for an economy to go through is something called stagflation, which is a combination of stagnation and inflation, where the cost of living keeps going up, but wages aren't matching it. And so people are being put in these positions where they can't afford rent based on a full-time salary. People were getting paid $13 an hour, $14, even $15 an hour just really doesn't cut it, especially if you're living alone. I don't know of many studio-sized apartments in this city that would allow you to pay rent on an hourly wage below $19 or $20 an hour.
Yeah, even with my salary, my teaching salary, it's not that low compared to other people. And if we didn't live together and split the cost of everything, I don't know if I'd ever have money.
Yeah, exactly. And just so everyone's clear, we live in an relatively affordable, one-bedroom apartment. And we split the bills on everything. And it's no cakewalk. We both make decent salaries. Historically speaking, our salaries are just decent adult salaries, and we're combining those salaries to split everything, and it's still kind of a struggle. We don't live a lavish lifestyle. We don't go on vacation very often, and we still find ourselves running out of funds and, not being able to put money in savings the way that we would like to on a monthly basis. So it's tough here.
Well, I was just looking the other day at all the apartments that are vacant, like in our hall, or actually in the whole building. And the price difference between ours and the one that's directly across the hall is $300. That's the difference. $300 more than what we pay.
Yeah, so that's what our rent prices are going to be pretty soon, I guess.
But we're trying to buy a house or a townhome.
Right. Yeah, those houses they're almost out of reach. We're doing the best we can, and a townhome might be the best way to go. We've been thinking about getting a townhome, and then when we move out eventually, we can keep it and rent it out as a property that we own. But we'll see how that goes. It's all just sort of in the works right now.
Yeah.
We've got a number of months before we would be able to actually close on anything, so we've got some time to look at that.
But I was just comparing the monthly price. Like a mortgage is the same. It could be around the same price as a nice apartment. So why not go for a house or a townhome when you're getting the same price as, this place?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Well, another thing that we wanted to talk about today was the work-life balance that you have to try to achieve here in the American workplace, because It's very common for people to feel like they don't have enough time on their hands, especially when it comes to leisure, relaxation, self-care, basic errands and appointments like going to the grocery store or going to the doctor. It's almost impossible because you have to take time off just to have a normal doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, and you really don't have any time to spend with your family at the end of a work day. It's really weird. Isn't it strange? We spend more time with our coworkers than we spend with our own families.
Yeah, and you don't get to choose your coworkers.
No, you don't. You don't. Coworkers can be some of the worst people on earth.
They can be very negative.
Yeah, they can be negative. Or they could be even just too positive. I mean, I know...
Peppy can't do it.
Yeah, I know someone who, every time I see them, they ask me how I'm doing.
Oh my gosh, how rude.
And I'm serious, right? Isn't that crazy? But it's like genuine. It's not just like, hey, how's it going? It's like, hey, how are you? Like you feel it in your bones. And every time that she asks me this, all I'm thinking is, Samantha, you don't want me to be honest with you. You don't want to know how I'm doing. Because if I were being honest with you about how I'm doing, you might start to cry. I mean, let's just get one thing out of the way. If I awoke on a Tuesday morning and the devil himself appeared out of a flaming apparition in front of me, and he said to me, John, I'm going to offer you a choice. You can either get up and go to work today, or you can walk 5 miles butt-ass naked through the cold, slaughter a flock of sheep with your bare hands, walk back home, get in bed, and stay there for the rest of the day. You know what I would do? I would murder some sheep. I would strangle those sheep. And Samantha doesn't want to know this. So, Samantha, I'm just going to keep lying to you. But you better stop asking me because I just might be honest one of these days. So, I really can't deal with some of my coworkers. And especially, I mean, sometimes they're too nice, though. Like, they'll bring in cookies and donuts, and I'm getting fat. I need them to stop, right? I mean, do they ever bring in food where you work? I know you work at a school, so it might be different.
No, nothing good ever happens at schools.
Right.
we never get anything.
Yes, I guess we covered that a little bit earlier.
COVID.
Right, yeah, just COVID. Just more COVID.
Or more work that's unpaid.
Yeah.
Time hours outside of contract hours.
Oh, God.
Unpaid, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, a lot of unpaid time, a lot of diseases, a lot of illness, a lot of infected children.
At least there's a snow day tomorrow.
Yep, we got a snow day. We got a snow day out of the deal, so that's good. Oh, God. Well, I think we've covered a number of topics about the American workplace today. And
the American dream.
Yep, that's it. We're living the American dream, as they say.
Can't wait to live the European dream.
Yeah, that Italian dream sounds pretty darn good right now.
Pasta.
Yeah, how about some Sweden dreams?
You don't have to pay tip money because it's included. Just go to dinner, not have to stress about a tip.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Yeah.
I shouldn't say included. They don't accept tips.
Yeah.
In Italy.
And just for the record, I do tip everywhere I go. I try to tip as well as I can.
Tips 100% on top of the bill.
No, I don't. But
Excuse me, 101.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We're not balling over here.
No, I wish I had that kind of money. If I had enough money to tip 101%, I'd never go out anywhere. I'd just stay home and shop.
Private chef.
I'd shop on Amazon is what I would do.
Well, you do that anyway.
Well, we digress. But it's been great hosting our first episode of the Thought That Counts podcast for you, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please tune again. We are posting on YouTube. We have a short form YouTube channel that's called The Thought That Counts, and we have this Podcast as its own YouTube channel where we'll post full-length podcasts. And I hope you check it out. And we are going to see you again soon. Cheers.